Good morning. I know some of you wanted some help with the physics of coronavirus, so I was going to go through and show you how to do this sheet for another country. So just to recap, we're looking at the edited SARS-CoV-2 sheet that is attached to the assignment, and what we're doing is we are looking for the average new cases, 3-day running average, increase of new cases per day, average new deaths, and increase of new deaths per day for another country other than the US. So let's first go ahead and find another country that we want to do this for. So we've got some decent numbers coming out of decent numbers, meaning useful data, right? None of this is good, right? But Australia has fairly low numbers. Let's look at Austria. Austria is a good example. And the reason Austria is a good example is because it is close to Italy. And Italy had, of course, a major outbreak, probably the biggest per capita outbreak in the world to this point. And so seeing their neighbor might actually give us some insights as to what was happening. So we're going to go with Austria. Now, this first row for Austria is on 590. So we'll keep that in mind so that we can scroll back down here fairly easily to go back down to row 590. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first cell on average new cases. I just select it. You're not going to fill down from here. We're going to actually do a copy and paste. All right, so we're looking at this cell, which has the average of B2 to B4. And so what that's doing is that's averaging the number of new cases for the day afterwards, the current day, and the day before. That gives us a 3-day running average. Right? This allows us to kind of even out those hills and valleys in the data and really make more sense out of it. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this. So I go to Edit and Copy. I can also use Control-C. And then let me go down to row 590, which is the first one for Austria. And I'm actually, because this is a 3-day running average and it's taking the day after, I'm going to go to the second day and paste that formula in. Now I used Control-V to paste. You can also go to Edit and Paste. Now that this is pasted, this formula automatically is down here, all right? So this 352 is the average of these 3 days. And now what I can do is I can go down to this crosshair. I can go down to this little square in the bottom right-hand corner, and I get my crosshair. And now this allows me to fill down. And I'm gonna continue filling down until we get to zeros. So we see zeros down here, and that's where the end of the potentially useful data for showing the pattern, showing the velocity, the acceleration, the curve. That's the end of that useful data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the US for column D, and I'm going to grab that, and then I'll do the last two in a more efficient way. And that will hopefully make your life a little bit easier. So let me go back up to the US for column D. This is the increase of new cases per day. And what this is doing is taking the difference between the average new cases for the last 2 days. So this takes C3, which is right here, minus C4, which is right here. That's what this cell does. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to Edit and Copy. And then I'm going to go all the way down to Austria, which again is row 590. And in the second day, I'm going to go ahead and paste. So Edit, Paste. And that is a 96 case decrease between these 2 days. And I'm going to fill down. And really, I can only fill down to the second to last column. If I fill down to here, it gives me this false 1. The reason that's a false 1 is there's no value here. Yes, this is 0, but I don't really need to include that last number. That's not important, by the way. What is important is that you fill down. All right, so now I've got column C and D done. Let me go back up to the top. And let's get columns F and G. So I'm going to do the same thing, copy and paste column F, copy and paste column G, except this time I'm going to make my life a little easier. I'm going to hold down the shift and arrow to the right. That allows me to select both of these. Another way I can do that is simply by holding down the mouse button and moving over to the right. That allows me to select both columns at the same time. Both of these are the same thing as we're over here. This is just the average new deaths and the increase of new deaths per day as opposed to cases. So I'm going to do the same thing, edit, copy, go down to 590. Here I am. Go down to the second row within Austria, and I can paste. It will paste both formulas in. And because both of them are still selected, I can drag both of them down. And that's the last point at which I have a case right here. I'm sorry, a death right here. And now I can try to see what kind of patterns I can pull out of this data. We have all the data in Austria now. Now we can start to look at patterns. So I'm going to select all the data I have for column C, and I'm going to insert a chart. There are two ways to insert the chart. We can go here, insert chart, or I can go over here to this button that is the insert chart button. What we see is very clear. Increase, increase, increase. The peak is right around here, and then decrease, decrease, decrease. So really interesting data coming out of Austria showing that the infections started early. They peaked with a little bit of time left in March. If we look at the data closely, we see that this peak is right around March 25th, March 26th, March 27th. And then a decrease, right? Then this corresponds, just politically speaking, this corresponds to when Austria first started shutting its, quarantining anyone coming in from Italy, and understanding that this was where this was coming from for the most part. Obviously, it's all over the world, and shutting down borders really doesn't do a lot of good at this point, but it does help to quarantine people coming from another place for a couple of weeks in order to limit the spread. It will not stop the spread. So we see average cases per day, and I'm going to delete this. I'm just deleting this to make this recording easier to read. You don't want to delete that because you want to keep all of these charts. Now I've selected column D, which is the difference in cases per day. And what we see is that the cases per day increased, and then this time corresponds with the peak right here, and the number of cases per day started dropping. You could do the same thing with deaths, of course, and you will see very interesting pattern where the peak of deaths is looks to be about a week after the peak in cases. And so this is a model that, this is a curve that you are going to see happen in the US, hopefully very soon, where we might be at the peak right now in the US. The peak might be in another week or two, based on looking at the data. And then you will start to see deaths decrease a week or two after that, hopefully. Sooner the better, right? All right, I hope this helped. Email me in case you still have a question. I'm more than happy to help. I'm available all day today, essentially. Today is Monday. I'm available all day today. And then We have sessions starting Tuesday. For you guys, obviously, next time I'll see you is Wednesday. All right, take care. Do something for yourself today. Meditate, exercise, read a book, have fun, spend some time with the folks that matter as much as you can. All right. See you tomorrow or on Wednesday.